All right, hi there. My name is Aiden, and I work as a financial aid assistant at SUNY Oswego. And today I'm just gonna kind of run over the basics of financial aid, and kind of just give me the kind of the steps that it involved to figure out how coming to Oswego could be affordable, and just review your financial aid award letter and what it may possibly have been. So let's get started. Again, I explained that as an advisor, my goal is to really help you design a plan that could help you finance college. And I'll try my best to be useful today. So firstly, when it comes to financial aid, we definitely recommend that you start early. We recommend that you start looking at the schools that you would like to attend so you have an idea. Keep in mind that there is a difference between public and private schools, and a lot of times those prices could be very different. But all of them recommend that you start with completing FAFSA. So you would go to www.fasfa.ed.gov, and you would select on the Federal Student Aid Estimator. You would enter your financial information, and it would give you an estimate for an SAI, which is a student aid index. This is essentially a number that the Fed uses to determine what you could receive in federal aid. So when it comes to applying for FAFSA, you will complete this during your senior year of high school. So, or before you start college, technically it opens up that October 1st, but it could be completed, we recommend before the year starts for that academic year. Again, you will go to www.fasfa.ed.gov. The FAFSA is largely based on income. So whatever you would have made in the prior year is what you would be completing on the FAFSA or filling out. So for the 2026-2027 academic year, it will go based off of your 2024 taxes. We definitely recommend you complete the FAFSA as soon as possible. Typically, schools we will be sending our financial award letter by December, January, February, somewhere in that range. So we definitely recommend you complete it as soon as possible. That way, if there are any issues, we have more than sufficient time to review it and make any adjustments as needed. Before you start, we just recommend that you apply for an FSA username and password. This is very important because it may take a while for you to get that information approved. It will require you to enter like your social security number, but that's just to verify that you are who you really are. It would be for you in addition to your parent if you are a dependent student. And of course, if you have extenuating circumstances, just report it to your respective financial aid office. So that would be us. So if you are like an independent student and offering a water to court, just let your prospective financial aid office know. That way, we just know when it comes to processing your FAFSA. And if we do need additional documents, we can create that portal for you. Next would be to apply for state financial aid. So in New York State, we have the TAP grant, and it opens up in October. So usually when the FAFSA opens up, the TAP application would open up as well. The TAP is determined based on income, and the maximum is generally 5,665. It all depends on income again, and that would you would be required to report your income on the TAP application, and that could be found at hesc.ny.gov. Next is the Excelsior Scholarship. So a lot of times we get asked, isn't the Excelsior Scholarship supposed to cover all of tuition? But that is not the case. Well, we get asked, should the Excelsior Scholarship cover the entire bill? That is not the case. The Excelsior Scholarship is a scholarship that strictly covers tuition. So, for example, if you are a student who is receiving like the max Pell Award amount, which is usually 7,395, tuition at Oswego is about $7,070. So your Pell Award is already covering your tuition, therefore you would not be eligible for the Excelsior Scholarship. So just keep that in mind. We still say that you can apply for it, but just keep in mind that you may not receive it because it is based off of tuition. It goes based off of what you would have received in the Pell grant and also the TAP grant. So it kind of covers that difference. If you didn't qualify for either of the Pell or the TAP, that's where a lot of the Excelsior Scholarship would come through. Again, it is available for students whose New York State household income is less than 125K, and it will pay up to 5,500 toward tuition. If it is already covered by, again, other state, federal sources, you would not likely qualify for the Excelsior, but you can still go ahead and apply for it. Generally speaking, to get the Excelsior scholarship, you need to complete at least 30 credit hours per academic year. But generally, we recommend you complete 12 credit hours per semester. You may have to do more or less on the other semester, and this would allow you to stay full time. Keep in mind also with the Excelsior scholarship that if you have to stay in New York State for the same money as you received the Excelsior scholarship. So if you received the Excelsior scholarship when you first started at Oswego up until you graduated, so if that's a 4-year time span, then you would have to stay in New York for 4 years. And if you do not stay in New York and if you decide to move to another state, that the amount that you borrow would be converted into a loan. So just keep that in mind. And also, this is a separate application from the top application, and that will be completed at hesc.ny.gov, and it opens up in May. Next, so when you look at your financial aid award letter, you would see whereas you would get some offered to you as a student, so you may have grants and student loans, but then it may not always be sufficient to cover the difference. That's where a parent loan could come in, or additional scholarships, or private loans, which is what we're looking at right here. So at Oswego, of course, we would offer various scholarships. So we have a presidential scholarship, which is right now is about $6,000 for the academic year, a dean scholarship, which is about for 2,500, and several others. So if you're a transfer student, that amount could differ as well. We also have alumni scholarships, but these become available after your first year as a student. So let's say that you're a student that started in the fall semester, you would be able to apply for alumni scholarships in January, and that the scholarship money would be applied to your bill for the following fall semester. So that would be applied to your bill for the fall of 2028 or 2027, sorry. Also, if you still is a gap between covering the cost of college after your grants and scholarships, and if you maybe have maxed out on your loan amount, that's why you may have to consider taking out private loans. So there are several options, but we do have a website on our financial aid page, or you can go to www.fastweb.com to find a list of private scholarship options. There's also tuition funding source that you can look at. There are also some clubs and organizations that may offer scholarships. So whether it be if you're in high school, that may be an organization or a club that you're a part of that would offer scholarships once you're going off to school. Or even when you do become a student at Oswego, there are some clubs that would award you scholarship amounts after you would have started. Just a simple essay or something of that nature. So it really all depends. And then, of course, there's also employment assistance. So once you do become a student, you would be allowed to work 20 hours. That could also help cover the cost. There's also work study, which is it's a federal program that allows you to work on the campus, and you would also get funds from that you could use to apply to your school fee or in some other way outside of like also having a job. So there are several ways to really finance college. And we definitely recommend that you reach out to your financial aid office to just verify exactly how it may be possible. Next is to review the cost. So you would see the cost of attendance found on your award letter. At Oswego, generally speaking, if you're an on-campus student, first year, the cost of attendance is generally $28,507. That includes your tuition, your fees, and your housing. You're gonna see on that financial award letter where there are, of course, those tuition and fees, room and board, and then also books, transportation, and personal expenses. We are required to report these estimates to you as a student upfront, just so that you have an idea of what the cost would be to attend Oswego. But of course, the award that you see on that award letter would not be the concrete bill amount. So in July, that's when the official bill will come out, that you would see exactly what you are being charged for. On the financial aid award letter, it is just an estimate. So it's like the closest possible estimate. If you believe that, you would have been, that you think the estimate is wrong, you could always just reach out to us and we can make that adjustment in the system so that you could get more of an idea of what the cost would actually be. Next, we recommend again, review that financial aid package, review that award letter. So once you see the cost of attendance for the year, when you scroll down, you will usually see the amounts offered in grants and scholarships. So once you complete the FAFSA, you would see an amount listed for Pell that's going to automatically be applied to your bill. There'd also be an amount for SEOG, which is a grant that usually first year students would receive. And then there would also be an estimate for TAP. As I would have mentioned before, you would need to apply for TAP at hesc.my.gov. It opens up on October 1st, so the same time as the FAFSA. However, there is a separate application. If you do not apply for TAP on your award letter, it will still say estimated. So it's important that you complete that application, and you could always give us a call just to verify that we could at least see that you completed it, and to make sure that that estimated amount is what you would actually be receiving once the semester starts. Keep in mind that the state, they determine what you would receive in the TAP award as well. We would just give you an estimated amount, but of course the state has the final say. So you may be asking, how much could you borrow in student loans? To be honest, it all depends. If you are a dependent student, that means that you are under the age of 24, and you are, are still listed on your parents' taxes, things of that nature, then you would be eligible for up to 5,500, but it is different for every student. Some students that are independent may qualify for more in those loan amounts, but of course, you would need documentation for that. So just keep that in mind. If your circumstances are, different, just reach out to us again, and we will make those adjustments to ensure that you can get a real estimate of what college would cost. For federal loans as a student, there is a fixed interest rate as of right now of 6.39%. So there are two types of loans that you would see offered under the student loan section. The first would be a subsidized loan. A subsidized loan is a loan that does not accrue interest while you're in school. So essentially, the Department of Ed, they will cover that interest cost. The principal amount would stay the same while you're in school. With an unsubsidized loan, the interest will accrue while you are in school. So as soon as it is taken out, at the start of the semester, that's when it would start to accrue that interest of 6.39%. Again, keep in mind that with these loans, they are due, you start repayment on these loans 6 months after graduation. So you take them out, let's say you take them out your freshman year, um, you you're going to realize that it will not accrue interest. Again, I tell you after you graduate. With the unsubsidized loan, it will accrue that interest, of course, but repayment is due 6 months after you would have graduated. So just keep that in mind. Next, we of course recommend that you do your research. So after you would have, got the package, make sure you just understand exactly what you are looking at. Just always feel free to give us a call so that we can better explain what exactly the circumstances would be in your case. Again, the financial award letter is an estimate based on the FAFSA, but the FAFSA doesn't always allow you to include additional information or circumstances that may be vital to determine in your package. So of course, just always give us a call, just to verify, send us an email. Covering that additional gap. So let's say that there is still a few $1,000s that is owed after your scholarships and your grants and the student loans. That's where a Parent Plus loan may come in. So a Parent Plus loan is a loan that your parents would take out, and it would be in their name as a fixed interest rate of about 8.94%. And similar to those subsidized and unsubsidized loans, the it would be you start repayment 6 months after you graduate. And also keep in mind that the parent loan is capped at $20,000 for the academic year. So let's say that you potentially owe more than that $20,000, in addition to your student loans. Keep in mind that you may need to either enroll in a payment plan or seek a private loan source or pay out of pocket to cover that difference. The $20,000 cap is a federal mandate, so just keep that in mind. There are also alternate loans with variable interest rates or fixed interest rates. So again, when you go to that FastWeb website, you would see the various options that we do have, or that a list of alternative loans that we're aware of that you can go through. Some examples are like the bigger ones like Sallie Mae College, Ave, SoFi, but there are a plethora out there. You could even contact your local bank and see what their educational loans may look like to help cover the cost of college. Next, so just remember to explore your major or career. We're all coming to college to graduate and get into the career choices that we want. But just keep in mind that it could look different based on, the career path that you do decide. So yeah, again, as I mentioned before, repayment for federal loans do start 6 months after you graduate. Keep in mind that if you are continuing school, you can defer these loans. So let's say that you graduated with your bachelor's degree and now you want to go ahead and get your master's degree. You can defer those loans once you would show the fact that you're enrolled in school. That is something that you would kind of determine closer to the time that you graduate, but just keep that in mind that there is a way that these loan repayments could be deferred. Of course, review that prospective salary, see and look at the estimated repayment amounts. Again, it will be different for each student, but let's say that you took out, let's say, a $15,000 loan, your monthly repayment could be, $156 per month for several years. Again, it will accrue interest, so also keep that in mind. The principal value will stay the same for a certain amount of time, but of course, it will accrue interest as time goes on. And there's also an estimated loan repayment calculator that would be at studentaid.gov. So, the implications of borrowing, there are several. The first thing is that when you do borrow these student loans as well, it does help with you building credit. And credit does help in the long term when it comes to, if you want to get a car or take out a mortgage on a home. So it helps a lot. It could also help with paying less for those major purchases. So let's say that like certain credit cards, or certain credits would allow you to be able to, get discounts. So just keep that in mind. Of course, look at those successful jobs, and also consider that you can get federal aid again after you would have graduated with your bachelor's degree. Next, we just also recommend that you just contact the financial aid office. We're more than happy to help and assist in any way. And again, circumstances are always different for each student. Just always give us a call just to verify what, may be the same or what may be different, because there may always be ways to kind of, figure out how you could get more or less. Also, if your circumstances would have changed, like there was a change in income from between 2024 and like the current 2026, you can always put in what we call a professional judgment SAI appeal. And that essentially just allows us for you to upload any documentation that you may have of a job change, if that's pay stubs or something of that nature. And if you made less, we can adjust your financial aid package, so that you are receiving the total maximum amount that you could get based on the current circumstances. So there are a plethora of ways that you usually could qualify for this appeal. So again, if there was a change in income, if there are, huge medical expenses, if there's a divorce, anything of that nature could qualify for more federal aid. And again, yeah, we often hear from parents, but we also hear from you as our incoming students. So just always reach out. We love to help our students in any way that we possibly could and just advise you as to how best to pay for college. Next, your financial aid journey begins shortly. Feel free to just give us a call at 315-312-2248 or email us at financial.aid@oswego.edu. That's all that I have for you. It was nice speaking with you all. My name is Aiden Wilson, and just feel free to always give us a call. We are more than happy to assist. Go Lakers.